Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is May 14th, 2025, and La Liga are investigating chants by Barcelona fans during El Clasico match. Also, Barcelona have completed a new wave of renewals. I'm going to tell you who they are. And finally, Pedro Porro has offered himself to Barcelona. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only do we discuss Barcelona news, but what I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting a discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description, chapters in the timeline, in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If y'all looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, like this hat, make sure you hit the kit bag, goal kits, or fanatics. Plenty of options there. If y'all looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. For example, if you want to bet on tomorrow's match between Barcelona and Espanyol, head to bet us. All links are in the description. You click on them, get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of news has several bits of news combined together for the sake of brevity. Starting with that today, Real Madrid won against Mallorca 2-1 after being down 0-1 for most of the match. I think around the 70th minute, Mbappe scored the 1-1. And then craziest thing, I think there was like 20 seconds left in stoppage time, and Real Madrid scored their second goal. So what does that mean? That means that Barcelona need to win tomorrow to become La Liga champions, because if Real Madrid today lost or drew, Barcelona would have become champions automatically without even having to play tomorrow's match. But because Real Madrid won, it's now up to us to finish this. So Barcelona will have to win tomorrow against Espanyol at Cornellà. Even if they don't, they can win against Villarreal. Even if they don't, they can win against Athletic Club Bilbao, or 2 draws. Remember, only 1 victory out of the 3 matches or 2 draws out of the 3 matches would be enough for Barcelona to become champions of La Liga. Now, of course, speaking of tomorrow's match, today Barcelona trained for the last time ahead of tomorrow's match, and it's going to be in their last training before becoming champions, if we become champions tomorrow, if we win tomorrow. But today, Barcelona trained for the last time ahead of tomorrow's match, and Íñigo Martínez did not train today. Íñigo Martínez only trained at the gym. Why? Because Íñigo Martínez is suspended for tomorrow's match. He received his 5th yellow card in a row in a Clasico match against Real Madrid, so he will miss tomorrow's match, which, of course, opens the door to the possibility of Andreas Christensen starting, or maybe Ronald Araujo. I think tomorrow is going to be a big test to see who does Flick prefer, because against El Clasico match, when Pau Cubarsí was not feeling well, Hansi Flick took him out, and he didn't bring in Araujo. He brought in Christensen, which during the post-match live analysis, I said, hold on, be careful. This could mean that Araujo has dropped to 4th position, because Araujo last season was undoubtedly the number 1 center back. This season, he dropped to 3rd, with Íñigo and Pau Cubarsí being ahead of him. But then when Flick brought in Christensen ahead of Araujo in the Clasico, I was like, wait a minute. Does that mean Araujo dropped to 4th position? Now, of course, at the time, during the Clasico, Araujo had already received a yellow card while on the bench for protesting. So maybe that was the reason behind Flick bringing in Christensen instead of Araujo. We don't know. But tomorrow we're going to find out, because, again, Íñigo is suspended. So we'll see whether Flick will prefer Araujo or Christensen to be the other center back next to Pau Cubarsí. We'll see who will be the fullbacks. Most likely Alejandro Balde, who is now fit. Most likely he will start. And then, if I had to guess, probably Eric Garcia as a right back. So we'll definitely see a new lineup as far as the back 4, with Eric, Cubarsí, maybe Christensen, maybe Araujo, and then Balde as our left back. Now, there was a little scare during training with Pau Cubarsí because he crashed with Lewandowski. He was on the ground. He could not get up. He hit his knee, but no worries. Pau Cubarsí is fine. He was just in pain, so he will play tomorrow. Now, more news because guess who joined the group training today? No other than Pablo Torre. Pablo Torre, who was injured, he rejoined the group training today, which means he will be available tomorrow. Of course, whether he gets minutes or not, that's a whole other story because he hasn't been getting much minutes. But nonetheless, he will be available in case Flick does want to call up on him. And one player that Flick will not be able to call on is Ferran Torres. Ferran Torres, who actually participated in the group training. Everything was fine. All of a sudden, he started feeling pain. They took him to the hospital. They did tests, and lo and behold, Ferran Torres has appendicitis, and he has undergone surgery to remove his appendix. So Ferran Torres will not be available tomorrow. So most likely, it's going to be Lewandowski for the full 90 minutes, or who knows, maybe Pau Victor comes in the final minutes, but Lewandowski will definitely start tomorrow. And Lewandowski has some work because Mbappe scored a goal today, and with his hat trick during the Clasico, Lewandowski is now 3 goals behind Mbappe for the Pichichi race or for the top scorer race. So Lewandowski has 3 matches to catch up or surpass Mbappe in order to win the top scorer or the Pichichi trophy in La Liga. And also interesting, we're going to see who will be the goalkeeper tomorrow because remember, Ter Stegen already was the goalkeeper against, was it Real Valladolid? Yeah, Real Valladolid. We'll see if Flick maybe gives him some minutes tomorrow or whether it's going to be Szczesny. My bet will probably be Szczesny because we still have to win La Liga, and I'm guessing once La Liga is won, we might see Ter Stegen play more minutes just so he can come back and get back into competitive rhythm. Now, the final thing or the final news of this first segment of news is that if Barcelona win tomorrow and they become champions at the Cornellà, Hansi Flick has decided that there will be no celebrations at Cornellà. He has asked that the players not stay behind, don't celebrate, nothing. If we win, we become champions, great. You can hug each other if you want, but then straight into the locker room in order to avoid what happened during last time that we became champions. I don't know if some of you remember, but 2 seasons ago when Barcelona won La Liga title, we won it against Espanyol at Cornellà. The players were celebrating. You know, they did that circle in the middle of the field. They were jumping around, and Espanyol fans got mad. They invaded the pitch with sticks, with whatever they can get their hands on, trying to hurt the players. The players had to run into the tunnel. Security had to intervene. So Flick doesn't want a repeat of that. So he has told the players, if we win tomorrow, we become champions, straight into the locker room. There'll be plenty of time to celebrate after that. No reason to, run the risk of being attacked by hooligans and animals who don't know how to behave themselves during a football match. All right, let's begin with the chat section, which is my favorite part. And then we are going to talk about the investigation that La Liga has opened into Barcelona for what happened during El Clasico match. McCoy says, hey, Mo, if we have all our midfielders fit, Bernal, Casado, the whole works, who would be your best midfield pairing, Pedri and who? Great question, and very, very tough question to answer. Because on one hand, I think Bernal is a step above Casado, but on the other hand, we only saw him a couple of matches during the season where we saw Casado for a lot longer. So I can't really judge, right? I can't really judge whether Casado or Bernal, who will be better next season. I'm sure over time, Bernal will be better. He probably is already better, but we haven't seen him, right? We've only seen him twice. I think it was only 2 matches that he played before he got injured. So that's a tough question. What I would do is probably have Casado play ahead of Bernal while Casado starts getting minutes, gets back into form. Because remember, it'll be a whole year of him out when he comes back. So he's not going to be in competitive form. So I would start Casado ahead of him and then bring in Bernal for a few minutes here, a few minutes there, start increasing his minutes. And once he's back into competitive form, then we can talk about starting Bernal over Casado. Again, just because of his injury, I'm not saying that Casado is better than Bernal. That's not the case. It's just, he will be out for a whole year by the time he gets back into playing. And Valentino says, hey, Mo, my first time in a very long time watching the live podcast. Let's win the league tomorrow in the Derby. Visca Barça siempre. Thank you, my friend. It's good to have you back. Thank you for watching and for your comment. And yes, let's win tomorrow. Mez says we should go for Rashford. He's better than Nico, in my opinion, and I think he'll stay consistent under Flick. Here's the thing. I have no reason to believe that, right? Because, how old is he now? 28 years old. He's been around for a while now. He's been highly inconsistent throughout his career. So there's no reason for me to think he will be inconsistent under Flick. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It could very much happen. Flick could very much bring the best out of him um, and make him consistent. But here's the thing: based on evidence, right? That's what you're taught to base your conclusions on, or at least I hope that's what everyone's been taught. That when you come up with a conclusion, you got to come up with a conclusion based on evidence. And based on evidence so far, I cannot conclude that because for many, many years, Rashford has been inconsistent. And then there's also the age, right? So I don't think Rashford necessarily will be more consistent than Nico. He could be, but there's no reason for me to guess that. Of course, I could be wrong. And Nico is younger. So I would prefer Nico. But, of course, Rashford, if we can get him on loan, why not? I wouldn't spend a permanent transfer on him just because, again, he has been highly inconsistent. I would rather bring him on loan, try him out. If he ends up doing amazing, sure, let's sign him. Plus, it would be one less year off his contract, which means his price would go down. But I would rather bring him on loan rather than permanently sign him. That's what I would say. But if I have to pick one or the other, I prefer Nico Williams. Jose Aguilar says, I feel we are able to incorporate Rashford on loan, a solid right back, and honestly, a striker. I feel as we would have a proper team and bench. Shout out from the Windy City. All right, let's go. I don't know if we could do all three because, again, Barcelona, their financial situation, their financial fair play. I don't know if we could do all three. Most likely maybe 2 signings if we're lucky. Again, we don't know. We'll find out on June 30th, which is when the fiscal year ends. All the clubs turn over their paperwork. La Liga does their math and gives each club their new financial fair play rules or their wage limit. We'll find out more. Not even Barca knows what's gonna look like. But 3 players is sounds a little difficult right now. But who knows? Maybe with all the extra earnings that Barcelona had in the Champions League, from winning the Copa del Rey, from winning the Spanish Super Cup, hopefully from winning La Liga, maybe all of that will be enough, but we don't know as of now. And we do have a donation. Baby's coming. Let's go. Says, what's up, Mo? I think we should get a new goalkeeper. Tech and Matt's no longer up to par. Haven't seen Matt's good since 2015. Honestly, has been in a decline. I completely disagree. I think Ter Stegen has had a wonderful season. The season that we won La Liga, he was pretty much between him and Lewandowski. They're the 2 players that won us La Liga in 2023. Yeah, 2023. It was kind of like a repeat of what Real Madrid had done the season before, when Real Madrid were pretty shitty, and what got them La Liga and even the Champions League was the fact that they had Courtois stopping everything, so nobody could score on them, and then Benzema would score 1 goal or maybe 2 goals, and then they would win. And that was kind of Barcelona's season summed up in 2022, 2023. Ter Stegen, completely unstoppable after he had that surgery, was stopping everything. And then Lewandowski would score a goal here, a goal there, and then Barcelona would barely win 1-0 or 2-1. So I completely disagree. I don't think he's in decline. I think Ter Stegen is still, for me, the best goalkeeper we have. And either way, we don't need goalkeepers. We have Cochin. We have Jakobishvili, who just renewed. And we have Iker Rodriguez. We have very promising goalkeepers in the academy. We don't need to be wasting our money on a goalkeeper when we have so many options in the academy. It's kind of like going out right now and signing a midfielder. It's like, do we really need one? No. We have plenty of good ones on the first team, and we have a million more in the academy. Jourdain says, appendicitis is like when a vestigial organ, an organ that serves no purpose in the body, explodes. The appendix in particular helps with controlling the microbiome, but obviously it hurts when it bursts. Well, usually it starts hurting before it bursts. If it bursts, it's already, you've waited too long. So if you start feeling pain in your abdomen, you should immediately get it checked because you want to get it out before it bursts. Because if it bursts, it could cause a massive infection, which can be turned into sepsis, which is when the infection spreads all over your body and you can die. Now, as far as the appendix itself, yes, technically for the longest time we thought it has no use, but more recent research that has been coming out, we're starting to understand the appendix better. where it has more function than what we thought it did. Before we were like, whatever, throw it away. But now it's been tied to better immune system. It's been tied to more longevity. Again, we're still learning more about it. It's still kind of like a new area that we're exploring, but it's not, the appendix is not being thought of as useless as we used to think about. But yeah. And again, if you're feeling pain, get it checked out. You don't want to get to the point where it bursts. You could die. Anyways, let's get back to the news. Let's talk about football, not about appendix. But let's talk about the news because, ladies and gentlemen, La Liga have opened an investigation into Barcelona as a result of El Clasico match. I had a feeling that was going to happen because I don't know if some of you noticed or you were watching the match, but there was several announcements over the speaker asking the fans to please stop chanting what they were chanting. So I had a feeling this was going to happen. And well, lo and behold, La Liga have opened an investigation for 7 different incidents. So 7 complaints against Barcelona because of what the fans were saying, including chants saying Asensio go to jail, because Asensio right now is involved in an investigation. It has to do with child pornography. A video was shared of someone having sex with a minor. So he's kind of being investigated with his involvement in that. I don't want to get into it because it's an open investigation. It's innocent until proven guilty. But the fans were chanting, Asensio go to jail. There were also chants against Florentino Perez in the stadium. There was, of course, the famous song, Puta Real Madrid, which technically translates Madrid whores, but word for word, but it's more like FU Real Madrid. And, of course, Real Madrid hijos de puta, which is, Real Madrid sons of bitches. So all these chants, of course, have now caused La Liga to open an investigation. And, of course, usually following an investigation, there's usually fines. Even though Barcelona did everything they could to stop those chants. In fact, they made several announcements through the match asking the fans to please, no bad chants. If you want to chant and support your team, that's fine, but no insulting anyone. They did announcements at the 4th minute, 27th minute, 43rd minute, 50th minute, 45th minute, in stoppage time during the first half, and 85th minute. So 6 total announcements that Barcelona made over the speakers asking the fans to please stop chanting those things. Fortunately, the fans didn't listen. They continue to do it. So now La Liga are investigating, and most likely Barcelona will be fined, which, of course, is funny because let's not forget, during the first El Clasico match, there were racist chants lobbed at Lamine, Ansu, Balde, and Rafinha, calling them the N-word, calling them monkeys, telling Rafinha he should be selling diapers on the street. I guess. I didn't know that was an insult. And yet, no fines against Real Madrid. Nothing. It took them months till they finally did something. And all they did was ban 3 fans for I can't remember how long, just a few months. Where when Valencia did it to Real Madrid, they fined Valencia. They closed their stadium. They had to play without fans. But when Real Madrid does it, you recognize 2-3 people, you ban them for a few months, no big deal, no fines, nothing. But of course, Barcelona, I'm sure they're going to get fined because that's how it works in Javier Tebas' league. Anyways, let's get back to the chat section, and then we are going to talk about the new wave of renewals. Very, very important renewals, including a renewal that Flick really likes, who considers him the favorite option out of the academy. I'll tell you who it is. Anyways, Triple X says, if Deco's going to get busy this summer, I hope he goes for Nico Williams, Jonathan David, Vanderson, Frimpong, and any quality left back for depth. At this point, I feel like I should print out a sign and just hang it behind me. Don't expect that many signings. I say this every live. I say this every video. And I keep seeing people talking about, we're going to sign Haaland, Mbappe, Vinicius, everybody. That's not going to happen. The club doesn't have money. The club doesn't have financial fair play. I don't know how many times I can say that. At most, best case scenario, a left winger and a fullback that can operate on both sides, because we can't even afford 2 fullbacks. So we have to just sign one that can do both jobs. One guy for two jobs because we cannot afford to sign it. So it's not going to happen. Don't expect that many signings. Definitely don't expect a bunch of big name signings. It's just not going to happen. Okay. Jonathan David has already been ruled out long time ago. Barcelona considered that he will not fit the profile of the striker that they are looking for because they want a striker that can operate in small, tight spaces, something that Jonathan David does not know how to do. He flourishes when there's a lot of space, but guess what? Most teams that Barcelona play against, they park the bus, so they need a striker that can operate in small spaces. Not to mention, Barcelona have no plans of signing a striker this summer. They're going to sign one in 2026, which is when Lewandowski's contract expires. Why? Because we don't have money. If we had the money, if we had the financial fair play, Barcelona would sign a striker, a left winger, two fullbacks. But we don't have the money. Roger says, hey, Mo, what's the financial payout going to be for Barca seeing they won 3 domestic cups? For the Copa del Rey, they got an extra 1.2 mil. For the Spanish Super Cup, they got an extra, I think just for participating, I think it was like 6 million. Making it to the final, it was like, I can't remember how much it was. It was like 600,000 or something like that. And then for winning it was an extra mil. For La Liga, I think it comes up to 66, 68 mil. I know for sure the Champions League was 117. That's how much Barcelona made. But don't worry. When we win La Liga, I will be making a video breaking down all the profits from each trophy that Barcelona have won and how much. And plus, of course, when the fiscal year ends, don't worry, I'll be doing a detailed video about Barcelona's fiscal year, how much money they made, how much money they lost, what's the revenue, what's the profit, where this money coming from. Don't worry, I got you. Tom says Rashford is still out due to a hamstring injury. I doubt he'll make it to the transfer anymore. And Innocent says, hi, Mo, I'm watching from Nigeria. I think we should always start Fermin Lopez ahead of Olmo, and I think Olmo is always more effective when he comes from the bench. That's my observation. That's a fair observation, honestly. Every time Fermin has come on, he's always made a good impact. And Olmo has been inconsistent. When Olmo's having a great day, he's amazing, better than Fermin. But when he's not having a day, he's just a ghost, completely gone. Can't find him anywhere. And my man Klaus, who says Nico 100%. I agree, my friend. I agree. And the Jeff says Pedro Porro is bad at defending. We don't need him. Imagine him versus Vinny or Mbappe. And don't worry, we'll talk about Pedro Porro in a little bit. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. And with that, let's get back to the news because I do have good news. Ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona are still working hard. They're still hard at it. Renewing players. First, it was all these players that they renewed in the first team. Pedri, Gavi, Balde, pretty soon Bernal, pretty soon Lamine. And, well, they haven't stopped there. Now they're renewing players in the academy, important players in the academy because Barcelona want to first secure what they already have before they start thinking about bringing other people. You know, secure your base. Then you think about improving and addition, which I think is the most sensible thing to do, right? If you already have great players, let's keep them. And then we think about adding because guess what? If you go sign people, bring people to the club, and then all of a sudden you're out of financial fair play, like crap. Now we're going to lose the ones we already had. Secure what you have first, then you look to improve. Now, Barcelona have announced 3 very important signings or 3 very important contract renewals out of the academy, starting with Baba Kuruma. Or Kuruma. I think it's Kuruma. I think that's how you say it. But Baba Kuruma, I'm sure you've already heard of him. I've talked about him in previous videos. He's a 16-year-old academy player. He is the brother of Ilaish Moriba. If you guys remember, Ilaish Moriba, a very promising midfielder, made the huge mistake of trying to get more money by moving somewhere else. And since then, he found out that the grass is not greener. He's been just bouncing around from loan to loan. Now he's at, is it Celta? Some team that wears light blue. I'm pretty sure it's Celta. But anyways, Baba Kuruma, the brother of Ilaish Moriba, 16 years old, a highly valued player in the academy, a player that Barcelona see with lots of potential. And they also like the fact that he is very versatile. For example, he can play as a center back, defensive midfielder, and as a fullback. So pretty much another Eddie Garcia who can play it all. Now, Baba Kuroma just turned 16 years old, and therefore, under the rules, once you turn 16, you can officially sign your first professional contract, and that's exactly what Barcelona have done. They have given him his first professional contract at 16 years old. His contract was set to expire this season, and Manchester City were already circling like piranhas. They were ready to pounce as soon as his contract expired. They were ready to sign him. They offered him a lot more money than what Barcelona have offered him, but he said, thank you, but no thank you. I want Barcelona and Barcelona only, and he has decided to sign his first professional contract with Barcelona. Now, Baba Kuroma, it's not specified how long his contract renewal is, but everybody is speculating that most likely he signed a 3-year contract. Why? Because even though you can sign your first professional contract at 16, you can only sign maximum for 3 years until you're 18. Once you're 18, you can sign a 20, 50-year contract, whatever you want. But when you're underage, when you're under 18, you can only sign 3 years. So 16, first professional contract. Most likely he signed for 3 years because that's the maximum, which would keep him, of course, until 2029, right? 25, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8. No, 2028. Wow, I can't even do basic math. But anyway, so good news on that front. Now, more good news because Brian Farinas has also extended his contract. He is 19 years old, a versatile midfielder who currently plays with Juvenil A, or the under-19 youth team. He was part of the setup under Giuliano Belletti. They just won the youth treble. They won their league group. They won the youth Champions League, and they won the youth Copa del Rey. And he has extended his contract until 2028. Now, Brian Farinas arrived in the academy in 2018. He signed from Villarreal, and he has had success working his way up through the ranks. And next season, he will officially be a Barca Athletic player. And then again, he'll be staying until 2028. So 10 years, because he did arrive in 2018 from Villarreal. And the final and most important, not to say that these two players are not important, but the most important, I'll tell you why, is Jofre Torrens. I'm sure you already heard this name because he has been called up to the first team training several times. He's been on the roster a few times as well on the squad list. But Jofre Torrens is an 18-year-old left back. He has extended his contract until 2028. And the reason why I say he's probably one of the more important names is because Jofre Torrens is Hansi Flick's favorite player in the entire Barcelona academy, because Flick believes that Jofre Torrens is the only fullback in the entire academy that can one day rise to the level of Alejandro Balde. So in other words, Hansi Flick believes that Jofre Torrens will be the next Alejandro Balde, and he could potentially one day compete with Alejandro Balde for that left back position. Now, given how good Jofre Torrens is in the academy, both Alex Sanko and what's his name? Joan Soule, which are the people in charge of the academy, both of them have recommended to Hansi Flick to take Jofre Torrens not only to the preseason, not only call him up to the preseason training, but to also take him with the first team to the Asia tour. Because remember, the summer preseason tour will be in Asia, Korea, and Japan. And both Alex Sanko and Soule have recommended Flick to take Jofre Torrens with him to Asia and to call him up to the preseason training, because that's how promising this youngster is. And who knows, one day we could see him competing with Balde. All right, let's do the comment section again. And then we are going to talk about Pedro Porro. Pedro P. Baby's comeback says, would you sell Olmo if a good offer comes? Yes. But it would have to be really good offer. Talk about 80 million. I'm not going to, 30, 40, 50. I think 80 million. But it would have to be very, very, very good, because I think Olmo is an important player. I think when he's inspired, he's really, really good. We've seen how he can create so much in such a little space. He could have 3 players on him and somehow, some way still get a shot out and score, or still get a good pass or good assist. But he has been inconsistent a little bit. I mean, first of all, he spent half the season injured. And the other half, when he wasn't injured, he would either have amazing matches where you're like, oh my God, or other matches where you're like, wait, did Olmo play? Because I don't remember seeing him. So he's been a little bit inconsistent, injury prone, and the fact that the midfield's so stacked, I would. But again, it would have to be a really, really good offer. 80 million. I'm not saying, oh, just sell him and get rid of him. I don't care how much you get paid for. No. Only if it's like a really, really good offer. Let's see. The Matrix says playing Eric at right back is not an upgrade, but a downgrade. We need to get our money in order and don't waste our young talent to be playing players out of position. I disagree. I think Eddie Garcia has had really good matches in the right back position. Let's see. Jourdain says speed isn't everything in a fullback. He fared well very against Vinny last time I checked. We talking about Eddie Garcia because yes, I think Eddie Garcia canceled out Vinny, which is not a easy job whatsoever. Vinicius is still one of the best wingers out there. And I think Eddie Garcia completely canceled him out. Plus, let's not forget that nutmeg. I don't know if you guys saw it, remember seeing it, but Eddie Garcia nutmegged Vinicius Jr. So yeah, I think he's done a great job in the right back position. Sifo Sethu says Jofre Torrent signed his contract recently and seems like the real deal. We should just go for Vanderson if there's financial fair play and look for a low-cost left winger for now. I would rather go for a low-cost fullback versus a low-cost left winger because we don't have any left wingers, right? I mean, yes, Rafinha plays in that position, but that's not his natural position. And plus, he's not the profile of the left winger that Barcelona usually counts on. You know, a dribbler, someone who can win 1v1s. That's not Rafinha's profile. Not to take away from the amazing season that he's doing. Versus the fullback positions, we have Koundé and we have Balde, right? Two great fullbacks, probably two of the best fullbacks in all of Europe. So those positions are already covered. As far as substitutions, sure, they're not that great, but at least you have two starters, two specialists in those positions. Versus we don't have a specialist in the left wing. So if I had to switch it up, I would do a low-cost fullback and, spend more on the left wing. Han says, Mo, I prefer we should go to our academy, bring more young talents, give them good training, just look at two experienced players and sign, and we're good to go. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty about our academy, right? We don't have to sign every player. We have plenty of talent there. I mean, most of our team is made up of the academy, and some of them are the best in the world, right? Lamine, the best player in the world. Coarsi, one of the best center backs in the world. Balde, one of the best left backs in the world. We have options. We have options in the academy. But, of course, you can't just do academy all the time. You still need to bring one or two big names or experienced players because if you only have 11 players who are all young from the academy, your team becomes unbalanced, right? Because a good team always has players who are young, who are hungry with lots of passion, lots of energy, but lack experience. Veteran players who might not have the same energy as the young ones, but they have what they lack in energy, they have an experience, right? So they compensate. These guys have the energy with no experience. These guys have experience, no energy. And then you want some players in the middle, players in their prime, right? Rafinha, Frankie, right? These players who are in their prime. You want all those categories on the same team to balance it out. If they're all young with no experience, that's a problem, right? Because, yeah, they might have the energy. They might be able to play 90 minutes of every match, but they're going to make a lot of mistakes because they're inexperienced. If you have a team full of veterans, great. They're not going to make any mistakes. They're veterans. But, I mean, they're going to all be injured halfway through the season, right? So you need balance. Let's see. Where did we leave off? This chat moved on me. Jose Fernandez says, wow, Mo, I would love to see Pedro Porro in Barca. I believe he could excel in the team and keep Koundé fresh and sharp. And I will take that comment as a perfect segue into our next segment because, ladies and gentlemen, Pedro Porro has offered himself to Barcelona. Now, the 25-year-old fullback, who's currently at Tottenham Hotspur, is looking to return to La Liga, and it's reported that he prioritizes FC Barcelona over every other club. Now, Pedro Porro's agent has offered him to multiple clubs in the Premier, La Liga, pretty much everywhere. But out of all those clubs, Pedro Porro's number one option is Barcelona. And of course, he's also offered himself to Barcelona the same way he's offered himself to other clubs. But the difference is that he prefers Barca. Now, Pedro Porro started out in La Liga. I think he was at Girona, if I'm not mistaken, made a move to Manchester City. Didn't really work out for him. He ended up going on loan to several clubs. He went to Sporting CP. He went to, I think, Real Valladolid. He went to Tottenham on loan, and then eventually Tottenham signed him on a permanent transfer. And since then, he has become an important player. But again, he is looking to come back to Barcelona, and it's reported that Tottenham Hotspur are willing to part ways with the player. However, they would want 60 million euros for a player whose market value is 40. And that right there pretty much takes out Pedro Porro out of the equation because Pedro Porro is not on the top list of Barcelona. So they're definitely not going to spend 60 million euros on a player who's not even on top of their list. As we know, the number one name on the fullback list is Frimpong. If I were to take a guess to say who number two is, it would probably be Vanderson. Then maybe in fourth, fifth position, it would be Pedro Porro. Barcelona can't even afford to pay 60 million for Frimpong, who's their number one. They're definitely not going to pay 60 million for Pedro Porro, who's probably fourth or fifth on their list. So Pedro Porro prioritizes coming to Barcelona. Is it going to happen? Highly unlikely. I won't say impossible because nothing is impossible in football. When you think it's going one way, football says, haha, it's actually gonna go this way. Anyways, let's get back to the comment section. That's all the news for this live stream. I will be uploading another video. Oh my God, I am so late. It's 7:47. I'm supposed to be at a work event at 8 p.m. That means in 13 minutes. And I still have to shower, change, and make it to the event. But anyways, I'd much rather be here with you guys. But I will be uploading another video tonight. It's going to be much, much later because I have to go to this event. I'll probably come back home super late from this event, but I'll still upload it because there is more news to talk about. But let's do a few more comments, and then we'll end the live stream. And Bisca Michael says, hey, Mo, I really do hope Olmo gets sold to Man City. Frankly, he wasn't one of our priorities, but it could prove to be the money we need to sign from Pong and Nico Williams, given that he just signed. Yeah, I always said this, and people were like so mad at me. But when Barcelona first signed Olmo, I was like, why? And I said time and time again, it's not because I think Olmo is trash or anything. I think he's a good player, but it never made sense to me that the area on the field or on the team that's most stacked is the midfield. We have more midfielders than anything else. Like center back's also stacked, but the midfield is a lot more stacked than any other part of the team. And yet we went and spent 60 million euros on a player that we couldn't register to reinforce a section of the field or of the pitch that's the most stacked. That to me never made sense. And again, it has nothing to do with Olmo, right? People all took it like, oh, Mo hates Olmo. No, I don't hate Olmo. I think he's a great player. But it just never made sense to me to sign a midfielder when we had so many midfielders and where we needed, for example, a left winger or a striker or fullbacks. That would have been a better signing. Again, nothing to do with Olmo. Nothing to do with Olmo. Nothing to do with Olmo. I keep saying this because people always disagree with me, but it's never with what I actually said. It's always with things that I never said. And it's like, it's fine to disagree with me, but disagree with what I actually said. But anyways, yeah, you're right. I think Olmo was never a priority. Should never been a priority. We should never spent 60 million euros. And if we could sell him for 80, I'm all for it. But of course, there is amortization that we have to worry about. Olmo was signed for what, 5 seasons? We paid 60, so that's 12 million per season. He's only spent 1 season, so that would put us at 48 mil. So we would, if we made 80 mil, out of those 80 mil, 48 would have to cover his amortization, which means that would only leave us with 32 mil to spend on another player, assuming we're under the 1-1 rule. Because if we're not under the 1-1 rule, we wouldn't be able to use the entire 32 mil that we have. Does that make sense? But anyways, Baby's comeback, who's been incredibly generous, says random, but Kyle Walker for right back sub, low cost. No. Kyle Walker 5 years ago, 8 years ago, sure. Now, no. But I mean, if he was like free, I would like, sure, we can bring him for free on a season, and he could, he could always come in against, as a rotational player, give some rest to Kunde. But no, I wouldn't do Kyle Walker. It would be kind of like a Chesney situation where if he comes for free, sure, come here, stay a season. You can, always rotate. I'm sure he would be able to contribute, but not on a permanent transfer now. Sanjog says, I know that our main idea is to score more goals than the other team, but I really hope we improve our defense because Madrid did score a ton of goals. Again, it's not an issue that our defense is not working. It's an issue that our defense is attacking. So if your defense is attacking, there's no one defending. As far as how we can improve it, I mean, it would be just lessening the mistakes. But overall, you don't expect to see somehow Barcelona not conceding goals in the future. It's just not going to happen. It's just the style. That's how the style of Flick is. You attack with all 11 players, so that leaves nobody defending. And if you don't have anyone defending, you're going to get scored on. It's just simple as it is, right? Can we fix a few mistakes here and there? Sure. Would that lessen a few goals overall? Maybe. But don't expect Barcelona to stop conceding anytime soon. As long as we play this kind of style of football, we're always going to be conceding. And I much rather we play this style of football where, yes, we're conceding, but at least we are putting on one hell of a show, and I'm enjoying this show. I mean, when's the last time you enjoyed watching a Barca match? Like, truly enjoyed it? Luis Enrique and the MSN? That was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. Sifo Sethu says Marc Pubil seems decent for a low-cost fullback. He did well in the Olympics, and yeah, maybe we should go for him. He is being considered. He is on the list. Is he at the top of the list? No, but he is on the list. Let's see. Star says, Mo, would you sign Nico and replace Rafinha? Well, here's the thing. We don't have to replace, like, it's not like one or the other, right? It's not like we sign Nico and that's it. Rafinha's done, is over, toss him and have the garbage truck pick him up, right? We could have both on the same team. It's fine, right? We can have Rafinha and Lamine start and then have Nico rotate with Lamine and rotate with Rafinha because he can play on both sides, right? You can also have it to where you use one or the other depending on what kind of defense you're facing. If it's a defense that's a very low block, compact defense, you can bring in Nico to try to unlock it alongside Lamine with their dribbling. If it's more of a team that's going to leave spaces in the back, then you start Rafinha over Nico because we know Rafinha is great at running behind the back of the defenders. You can also have all three of them on the field. You can have Lamine and Nico on their wings and Rafinha playing as an attacking midfielder. So you don't just have to it's one or the other. You can still have both. Cedar says, I'm so sad we can't sign class players this summer. All big clubs reinforcing themselves like there is no tomorrow. And that's fine. I mean, look, Barcelona have done the best when they have usually relied on their academy talent with a few signings here and there. We don't need to be signing 11 players. I mean, that's not the only way to build a team. I mean, as PSG, just now they finally started actually promoting talent from their academy and focusing on young, promising players, and they're finally doing well. But all those years where they wasted hundreds of millions of euros on big signings, that they never worked for them. Look at Madrid, the Galacticos era. They spent so much on signings, and that team was not that good. Now, they spent how much on Bellingham? 130, 160 million on Bellingham. Mbappe technically is free, but I'm pretty sure they spent a lot of money on him too because there is no such thing as a free player. When players are free agents, they always ask for a signing bonus. When someone like Mbappe, who's been earning ungodly money at PSG, I'm pretty sure he pretty much robbed Madrid with whatever signing bonuses he requested. And look at them. Can barely beat Mallorca. Right? So other teams, if they want to sign, they can sign. We don't have to, right? We have our academy. We can make 1-2 signings and make it work. Osman says, bro, Olmo is needed. We have no one like him. Please think Pedri and Frankie can't play there. Are not as good. And you Fermin is good, but are not there. If you don't want to get Olmo for 60 mil, who do you want? Bro, I'm not saying that Olmo is, we can't use him or he's not good in his position. The problem with Olmo is that he has spent half of the season injured, which is a shame because if this guy could stay healthy, I'm sure he could be an absolute beast. He could probably become one of the best in his position in all of Europe. But he has spent half the season injured. And a lot of times he's just, again, there's no middle with him. He either gives you great games or games where he's just not there at all, like where you don't even realize he's on the field. So I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying there's better options. Let's see. The Matrix says winning La Liga at Espanyol would be great. Yeah, we would be repeating history. That's what we did 2 seasons ago. And Zayd says, rumored Madrid paid 120 to 150 million euro sign-on bonus. I don't know, and I can't say, but I'm pretty sure Mbappe robbed them blind. And I mean, it is paying off. He's the only player who's been performing this season for them. But yeah, there's no way he was free. Don't let anyone fool you that, Madrid hit the jackpot. They signed Mbappe for free. It was not free. They might have not paid transfer fee, but it doesn't mean it's free. And Jose Fernandez says, yes, and for now, but who do you think has been more consistent this year? I'm not sure who you're talking about. Fermin? Yeah, I would say Fermin has been more consistent than Olmo. Again, Olmo is better. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Fermin is better. Talent-wise, skill-wise, Olmo is ahead of Fermin. But Fermin has been more consistent. Because remember, skill and consistency, 2 different things. Same with skills and performance, right? You could be, for example, Lamine Yamal, right? The most talented player. But who has been the best performing player? Rafinha. Does that mean Rafinha is better than Lamine? No way. Not even close. I mean, Lamine's in a whole nother world. So performance and skills are 2 different things. Same thing with consistency and skills. I think Olmo, naturally speaking, is a lot more talented than Fermin. But the one who has been more consistent this season has been Fermin. Now, if Olmo can stay healthy, if Olmo can remain consistent, then it's a no-brainer. Olmo any day over anyone. Because we've seen what Olmo can do when he's inspired. When he's having a good match, Olmo's unstoppable. But the problem is that doesn't happen that often. Between injuries and inconsistency, it doesn't happen that often. But if it can happen more often, Olmo all day. Like, it's no-brainer. But anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. I am super duper uber boober late. I have an event at 8 p.m. It's 7:58. That means I have 2 minutes to shower, change, and drive for 20-30 minutes. If any of you know of a wormhole or a time machine that I could borrow, please send it my way or let me know. I'm super late, but that's okay because I'd much rather be doing this than be at a work event. Anyways, I will see you later tonight. Once I come back, I will be uploading a video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, your donations. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. It really helps the channel. It prompts the algorithm to promote the channel. If you haven't commented yet, do so. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. I always read the comments. Even if I don't reply, I'm always reading you guys' comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. Anyways, I will see you guys later. Peace, Barca, now and forever.